All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Bristol Motor Speedway. We are going to go ahead and get started with this afternoon's media availabilities. We are now joined by Kyle Busch, driver of the number 8 Richard Childress Racing Chevrolet. If you have a question for Kyle, please raise your hand. We'll get a wireless microphone to you. We'll start with Jacob.
Jacob Seelman, Raceface Digital. Kyle, I know it's the first time we've been on the concrete here in the spring in a couple years, but with it being a concrete surface at Bristol, do you notice as much of a change compared to other tracks that we visit twice where you've got a daytime race versus the night race when we come back in September?
Probably not as much here at Bristol as normal. So I would say that both races here tend to act very much more similar than other places we go to. It's like even Martinsville, the way the gaps are between the asphalt and the concrete, they change from spring to fall. But here being all concrete and not much temperature variation in the concrete surface itself compared to asphalt, you don't notice as much.
We'll go next to Bob.
Bob Hawkers, Fox Sports. I had a couple. The first, have you seen where they've kind of repaved and patched at Coda? And if so, how will that impact the race?
I don't think it's going to impact the race any. I have seen, I think they got rid of a bump on the exit of 1. I think they did a little bit into the backstretch straightaway through, is that 12 or 13? And then out of the carousel and into 19. So I don't foresee it changing a whole lot. Like you'll be lack of grip probably through the carousel, and then you'll pick up grip on the exit and be able to go much faster through 19. But then out of 19, it's back to the old asphalt, and turn 20 is very slow with old asphalt being as slick as it is. So I don't know that it really opens up any more opportunities of passing or anything like that. Just smoother surface, I'd imagine.
And well, we're not expecting any change in horsepower. Let's say if NASCAR were to change the spacer and give you more horsepower, like what else would you need to know? Like would you need to check gearing, check tires, check the transaxle? Like from your kind of mechanical knowledge of the car, like what else would need to happen before you could actually go out on the track?
I would say the only thing that would be a limiting factor might be the transaxle, but honestly, I've never really looked inside one or seen the components of one to see how sturdy the gears are. That would about be the only thing in my book of just knowing whether or not it would withstand the horsepower gain. I would imagine that it wouldn't be that big of a deal, because I think X-Track builds transmissions and such for like off-road racing and things like that where they're over 1,000 horsepower. So I'm sure they're used to, or at least have experience in that realm of the higher horsepower. Brakes are fine. We don't blow the tires off enough. I think that's what we're all kind of talking about. We need these things to be faster going into the corner, utilizing the brakes more, utilizing the tires more, having an opportunity to overdrive the cars more to burn the tires up, and then see guys, struggle over a run.
All right, let's go to Matt Weaver and then to Mark Garrow.
Matt Weaver, Sportsnot. You've had various runs here over the years to where you've been really, really good, and this place has changed a ton, whether it's been the surface or the way the track was cut up on the top or whatever. What are the things that make you good at Bristol, and does this car and this current version of the track and the resin, does that give you confidence here given what you've had before, or is it just a completely different place?
The car really changes a lot for me. We won here with this car on the dirt surface, but I would say that since we've been bringing the new next gen to the concrete surface, I have not found my way with it yet, So I definitely had a way with understanding this place and having a sense of setup and how to drive it and whatnot with the old stuff, but not with the new stuff. So we'll see what happens here this weekend with our number 8 FICO Chevrolet. Looking forward to the truck race. It's been a long time since I've been in a truck here. I think the last time was 17 when I won. So certainly be nice to come out here and go back to victory lane with one of those.
And I know you have a lot of affinity and respect for Bubba Pollard, and he's going to make his Xfinity debut here in a couple of weeks. What does that mean to NASCAR, the short track industry, to have him get a chance and tell his story to this crowd and audience?
Yeah, no, I love it. a guy that works as hard as he does and does as much on his own as he does. I mean, he's a really smooth guy. I've raced against him a lot, and we've had some really good battles. We've always been cordial with one another. I think the only time was one of the younger kids that was racing for me. He punted him out of the way at I think it was Alabama one time at a race down there, and he said, well, that's what Kyle would do. And I called him, and I'm like, bro, when have I ever done that to you? Like, come on, man. And so, we've always had a good relationship, so I respect the hell out of him for what he does, and he's honestly one of the best, definitely one of the best from the South in the super late model ranks. I've raced against a lot of greats, out on the West Coast, up in the Northeast, Midwest, a lot of different names that always come to mind.
All right, we'll go to Mark, Lee Spencer, and then Dustin Long.
Mark Arrow, PRN. Kyle, good afternoon. Last year, you seemed to get off to such a quick start. How would you categorize what's happened this year in the opening part of the year?
Yeah, I would say, the Clash was great. We ran really well there. Daytona, we were fast. If I would have chose a different line on a restart, we probably would have had a top 4 at Daytona for sure. Atlanta coming oh so close there with just needing a couple inches to win that thing. And then Vegas, we were really fast. We were probably one of the only guys that could keep up with Kyle, Tiny Kyle. And we had a great shot there, and then just pit road was our demise. And then last week, obviously, just not very good in general with the short track stuff. Still, we've tried everything, so I don't even know where to go next with what we do next. But we'll see with some new ideas if anything works here at Bristol. Being as though it's a short track race, but it's still the different aero package. But yeah, we've come to find what our strengths are and what our middle ground is and where our weaknesses are for sure. So we keep trying to improve on all of them.
Is the pit crew still an unsettled situation, or do you think you've got the pieces now going to let them kind of work their way through it and smooth everything out?
I would say it's still unsettled. Obviously, the proof is in your results, right? You're only as good as your last race, as us drivers tend to say. So you're only as good as your last stop, I guess, as a pit crew guy should say. But I know everybody at the shop and all of RCR is working hard on trying to figure something out and get through it with the resources that we have. And, each week we'll keep trying to fine tune the personnel and make the best that we can out of the situation we got to have at least decent stops. My thing is like they're either the defense or the special teams unit, however you want to look at that, right? When you come down pit road, I've been saying it the last couple of years since we've been racing this car, the easiest time to pass people is when they're sitting still. It's when they're in their pit box. And so we can't be the ones that are always getting passed. We need to hold our own.
All right, we're going to try to get in 4 more questions for Kyle here. So we're going to go to Lee, we're going to go to Dustin, Chris, and finish with Kelly.
Lee Spencer, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio and CatchFence.com. Your teammate Austin Dillon was talking last week about making the tire tread or the width of the tire smaller. He said it would make you guys feel like you have more speed with the new short track package, and I'm kind of curious whether or not you follow that philosophy, and how do you think that package will react at Richmond?
Yeah, I can see where he's coming from. I think we've all kind of said that when the tire got wider, we all knew it was going to produce more grip. We all expected it to be softer, so it would wear and it would wear out, and then you would have less grip over the course of a run and have some fall off. But unfortunately, we haven't seen that. We haven't seen that softer compound yet. We saw last year here at this race in particular where guys stayed out on 60, 70 lap tires, went to the rest of the way on the first stage and won the stage. Guys were finishing in the top 10 by staying out. So you don't want to have tire blowouts. I get that. I understand Goodyear's sake on that part. But, I think when we have had softer tires in the past and we had blowouts, that's because they were softer, because they wore out, because we punished them. So like you're kind of to your own demise in a sense, but I guess tires not holding air probably don't sell well on Monday.
So, and how you think, having driven this package at Phoenix, do you think that it'll help the racing at Richmond?
No. No. the problem starts at the front of the car. The splitter and the way the air is and everything that we all do for setup stuff to make these things rely on the air as much as they do. That's the problem. I think they went about it. It's a funny way to say it. Backwards. There's another way of saying that. I'll leave it for another day. But they started at the back of the car. That's not the problem. It's at the front of the car. So that's it.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. With all the talk about this could be changed or this could be changed or this could be changed, I'm curious, what are today's fans not able to see you do that you could have done how you could have displayed your talents 10 years ago and 15 years ago in the car? What is this Kyle Busch that fans are seeing now, and how much is this not the 100% Kyle Busch that we could have seen 10 years ago? Is it that much different or
yeah.
not?
No, I get what you're saying. I feel as though that when the teams were able to build the cars with the manufacturers and they were able to design them the way they wanted to design them, you had particular teams that would really focus on chassis build. They would work on their front clips. They'd work on their rear clips. They'd work on their bodies. They'd work on their engines. You had a lot more feasibility in where you wanted to dump your resources. Did you want super speedway cars? Did you want intermediate cars? Did you want short track cars, road course cars? You get it, right? So now we all have the same Legos, and it's just about how you assemble the Legos, which apparently we're not smart enough yet at the short track Legos to have that program scienced out. But you also, for me anyways, I feel like the practice limitations that have been set forth, I don't have time to work through and dissect the car as much as I once did, of being able to go through practices, look at the data, go through another practice, go through qualifying, go through weeks of being able to do that, to build on your program and to give that feedback to the team and the engineers and everybody back at the shop to make your stuff better. So I would say that that's probably a big part of it.
And forgive me, but all this talk about simulation and how far it's come and how you've seen it come through your years, with what you talked about not being able to get that feel in practice and so forth, why can't that be done in simulation, or where does simulation fall short that it prevents you from getting that or helping make you even better in a practice situation?
I would say that there's nothing like the real thing. There's nothing like the asphalt dyno, as my dad would always say, and going to the racetrack with your stuff and competing against the rest of the competitors to see where your shortcomings are. So, this is a dumb analogy, but the smartest robot in the world will never be what a human is. You know what I mean? Like, it takes a human to build that robot. So there's going to be way too many circumstances that would come about to make sim life what real life is.
All right, we're going to take two final questions, Chris and Kelly.
Chris Weaver, Fox 8, WGHP, High Point. Kyle, how important is it for NASCAR to have a superstar, somebody who transcends the sport like Richard Petty or Dale Earnhardt or Jeff Gordon? And do we have one now, and what would it take to get there if we don't?
You're looking at him. No, I'm kidding. I think his name's Chase. He's the man, so ask him. But yeah, we don't have, for whatever reason, I'm not sure what it is, but you have the diehard fans of NASCAR, of the Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt, Rusty Wallace, Terry Labonte, Mark Martin, Harry Gant, you name it, guys from the 90s, mid-90s, late 90s, all of that. And our world now today of the 2024 is a lot different fan base of following along. I don't feel like we were able to transition a lot of the fans that were fans of those drivers, of the names that I just mentioned, into a William Byron fan or into a Kyle fan or into whoever. They kind of probably went away and just stopped following as much, which is hard to say because honestly, like, when you look at NASCAR, the fans love the drivers. Like, the driver star power, that's what brings people to the racetrack, is the drivers. When you look at the NFL, for instance, those players on that team change so often. You guys think my pit crew names changing every week is a lot. Look at the roster changes of NFL teams and what they do, what they go through with their 53-man roster. But fans are fans of the teams. And a lot of times, I'll throw a name, Jacksonville, for instance, the last few years, like they're coming back because of a Trevor Lawrence, right? They've got somebody back that has brought the team back into the forefront. But before that, their stadiums were empty. You know what I mean? So you can find the same struggles across different sports is what we see sometimes.
And we'll finish.
There's the man. He just walked in. See? You'll get him in a minute. Hope it all comes out all right. Who's up?
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. Kyle, I just wanted to go back to what you were telling Matt about how it's been here for you in the next-gen car. How much of that is the feeling of the car being so different from what you were used to here, and how much of it is rhythm when it comes to this racetrack and just knowing what you want to feel and how you want to be able to run this racetrack?
Well, Bristol is a lot of rhythm, but it takes a feel of what you're looking for here as well too. So this car just drives a lot different, and it drives a lot different because of the limitations in which it's built. It just has a different way of you needing to go about it, and I've learned some of that, but I guess I'm not the best at figuring out how to be better than some of the other drivers, or maybe their cars are better than my car. I don't know. It's not like we can swap seats. So, I'd always run this place more round. Like I'd always try to make it as much of a circle as I possibly could. And now you kind of run this place in a diamond. You go up to the wall, you try to come off the wall, you go up to the wall in a corner, you come off the wall, you go up to, you know what I mean? So it's more diamond shaped. So it's definitely a different way of running it. That seems to be a little bit more the faster way this day and age. So it's a different technique to get used to, but that's not to say that I can't do it. It's just a matter of sometimes you can't outrace your own equipment, and you've got to go and get what you can get out of it, but nothing more.
All right, Kyle, thanks so much.
No problem. You got it. Thanks.